Remnant from the Ashes is an action role-playing third-person shooter developed by Gunfire Games and published by Perfect World Entertainment. It was released for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One back in 2019, but my review will only be the PC version as I received this for free via the Epic Game Store. I'll give a quick summary of the game and then move on to what I really liked about the game, my nitpicks, bugs that I encountered while playing, and ideas that I think would have made my experience better in the game or for possible sequels if they were to happen. Remnant from the Ashes borrows its mechanics from the Dark Souls games, Sekiro and Bloodborne. Rather than simply being melee combat, it incorporates a third-person shooter element where the player can wield up to 2 gun weapons, 1 main weapon, and 1 sidearm alongside their melee weapon. These weapons can vary between machine guns, shotguns, hunter rifles, sniper rifles, and the like, and can also attach mods to them which give players extra abilities. Players can create their own custom character and are required to defeat challenging enemies and bosses found throughout a randomly generated world, though the player still follows a set story. Players are able to upgrade their weapons and armor using materials that they find throughout the world. Players can unlock trait points, which can be used to increase the stats of your playable character. They're pretty much skill points. Unlike other Souls titles which have limited multiplayer components, Remnant allows players to team up with up to 3 other players and progress through the story, where the game scales the difficulty based on how many players are in the game. The way this works is that if a player joins another player's game, while the joining player will earn the same loot as the original player, once the joining player returns back to their world, they are required to progress through their story again. This is because different elements found in one player's world may not be the same as in another player's. This can vary to which enemies and which bosses a player encounters. Unlike other similar titles, players do not lose any items or skill points upon death, but are taken back to the checkpoint, where each time the enemies may differ in number or change what spawns, thus keeping a variety in the gameplay. Now, to the things that I liked about the game. The most important thing is the gameplay is super fun. This is what's going to get you to come back and keep playing and playing. The gunplay. Very fun. There is a lot of weapons to tailor to your playstyle. Bunch of different guns to your liking. It is very rewarding due to the difficulty, especially when you come across difficult enemies or difficult boss and you try and when you finally beat it, just like the Souls games, it is very rewarding. The important thing is that the gameplay is fun by yourself too. It's super fun with friends or with random people online, but it's also fun by yourself. You can dodge enough times to be mobile and get into position to shoot at your enemy. If someone gets close to you, you can melee them or keep dodging out of the way. The controls are easy to learn and remember. It's got really nice visuals, nothing mind-blowing in the technical aspects, but the art style is very distinct and really sets the mood of the world of what's happening inside. It's pretty easy to run on a computer. I have a i7 with a 980 Ti, and I kind of put most of the settings to high, and I can run around 60 plus frames on a 1440p monitor. So it doesn't require too much hardware to run this game pretty nicely. Like I said before, boss battles, very satisfying when you beat them. There are some that are pretty well crafted that you have to figure out certain things, certain puzzles to be able to beat the boss quickly without being overwhelmed. The inventory is pretty easy to navigate. You can find your items, you can find your armor, your weapons, you can equip your mods pretty easily, your accessories. It's pretty well done. Now, one of the things that I really love in a PC game is that I can change the graphics in-game. I don't have to restart the game to change the settings so that I can see how it's affecting my frames. Unlike Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you have to restart every time you change one setting, and it's pretty frustrating because for one, that game takes a while to start up. But this game, you can change it in-game. Love that. The upgrade system is pretty easy. You'll find most of the materials within the world just running around. If you're going to search through buildings, you'll find them. Enemies will drop it. It's very easy to upgrade your weapons, your armor. It's all there and tells you what you need, and you can find it in the game world. One of the neat things is that this game makes you run around and search. It doesn't tell you exactly where to go. So it has you just kind of wandering the map and searching for where the next... You'll see an icon on your map of this is a place to go, but you'll also see doorways to go through that won't be the place to go to continue the story, and that'll lead you to a side quest or like a mini dungeon, and you'll get experience points and you'll get materials. So it's pretty neat that you can find those randomly within the world. It's pretty easy for people to join your game, and it's easy for you to join the game, and there's bonuses for playing with people. When you're within a vicinity of them, you can get extra experience and more damage, that kind of stuff. Now, one of the things I like, there is friendly fire among you and your team, but there's also friendly fire for the enemies. So the enemies can be shooting at you, and if one of them steps in front of somebody else, they could kill each other on accident, which is pretty neat. And I really like that you can kind of coordinate and strategize to have the enemies kind of in front of you in a line, and then they'll shoot each other or hit each other, and they could kill each other in a way. The end game is pretty different. I hadn't encountered an end game like this before. You'll beat the campaign, and you get the opportunity to re-roll the campaign, keeping all your stats and your weapons and everything, and so you'll start the campaign all over again. But as I said before, the game is randomly generated. All the worlds are randomly generated, so you'll find bosses that you hadn't met before. You'll go to areas that you hadn't seen before, or they'll just be randomized and everything is different. The other thing is you could do mini adventures, so you could load into specific worlds and just kind of run around and kill things until you get your materials that you want, and then go back to your main hub, craft your things, and do the same thing again. Now, for my nitpicks, the game does do the randomly generated worlds, but there are some repetition for some of the quests and side quests. You may be going into a sewer to continue your quest, and then if you find a side quest and you go in there, the sewer may look pretty similar to your main quest area that you were in. So it's kind of a little disappointing, but like I said, these are nitpicks. The music in general is pretty forgettable. The intro was nice, but everything else, when I'm in battle, I don't really hear it. The lip syncing for the characters is horrendous. It's really bad, but it's nitpick. You're not really talking to people that much, so you're just going out there shooting things, killing things. That's the point of the game. I did say that the gameplay is really fun by myself, but as I progressed normally through the game, and when I came upon the final boss, it would have been impossible for me to defeat the boss without grinding for probably another 5 hours to level up. But luckily, I tried a couple times, couldn't get past it. Somebody joined my match, a couple people joined my match, and so we were able to beat it. But if I was wanting to do this by myself, I don't think I would have been able to do it, at least not without grinding for way too long, in my opinion. The main story is really meh. I really liked the world and the atmosphere, but there wasn't much of a narrative about the lore and exactly why you're doing the things that you're doing. There is a why at the beginning of the game. You need to get to this specific tower, but it really wasn't explained well or explained enough to make me care, and there's way too much reading to understand the backstory of the world. You can encounter like people's journals and then like these computers that have logs, and you can read some of the stuff that happened to these people in the world, but there's way too much of it, and I kind of just want to get out there and kill things, you know? And you don't find everything in the first playthrough, so that's essentially, you're just kind of there in the world, and that's about it in the story. Now, for the bugs, I had a couple that I encountered while I was playing the campaign, but nothing so bad that made me want to stop playing. I had just a couple of restarts, but it happens with a lot of games. I did have the game crash once due to the game's engine failure, but it was one time out of the 15 hours that I've played. Now, here are some of the ideas that I had while playing the game that would have made things more enjoyable for me or a better experience, but you know, they may not work for you. This is just my personal list. I really didn't like the base movement speed. I thought it was too slow. So I think, to me, what would make this game better is to make the base movement speed a little bit slower than the normal sprint in the game, and then make the sprint faster than the normal sprint. I'm really open to the idea of, instead of having the one jump dodge movement, to do sort of a sidestep for one click on the spacebar, and then do the jump dodge with a double click on the spacebar, kind of like what Bloodborne does. I really think they should have kind of a small explanation before entering some side quests and dungeons to connect it to the overall world and the story, even if it's just like a quick summary of what's happening. Because there was one quest where I came across these other faction of humans And there was a cinematic that they were just saying, hey, you found us, what are you doing here? And then that was it. And I killed them, and then I never heard anything about them again. They really need to change the map in the game, in the inventory map, because you can move your mouse and you'll see icons in the main hub of characters, like you craft with this guy and you buy things with this person, but when you highlight or move your mouse over the icon, it doesn't have their name. And I think they really should have put that on there. For the PC players, I think they should have included sort of a chat system in the game for people who don't have microphones. I haven't played with anybody that had a microphone, but I think it would have been nice to do quick, typing to send a message or something like that, like, hey, I'll be right back, or something like that. So your character has a voice actor, and they have a couple of catchphrases after you defeat a bunch of enemies or the boss, but boy, do they get repetitive really fast. Even though your character has a voice actor, your character doesn't talk during the conversations. You just pick the questions or the dialogue choice, and that's it. So I think they should have done either have more catchphrases for your character and have the voice actor actually do the lines for the conversations, or just completely remove a voice actor for the main character, because with them not doing any talking for the conversations, there weren't enough catchphrases that whatever they were yelling out got super repetitive. One thing I think they should do in the second game, maybe, is implement sort of a quest system similar to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you can choose whether to go out and search for the quest locations, or say, I want to play the game by having you tell me where to go, and kind of give the player the freedom to choose how they want to play. I really enjoyed that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I think a lot of RPGs should do that. They should give players the option, hey, I just want to go through this and do the story, so just tell me where to go, and I'll do the story and have the fun gameplay. Or, like, I want to spend my time on this RPG and, like, search the world, so just let me search for the quest locations, give me some clues, that kind of thing. But I think they should definitely let the player choose how they want to play. Like before, I said that you can upgrade your character via traits. That's sort of your experience and your skill points. I really think they should have put a trait or experience bar on the HUD to get a sense of progress, because the only way you could see it is if you hit T to bring up your traits, and then you can see at the top, oh, I'm this close to getting another trait point kind of thing. But I really think they should put that on the HUD. I think they should constantly show the current quest on your HUD. When you get into a certain area or you progress to the next part of your main quest, it'll pop up on the HUD, but then it'll go away. So I think they should just keep it on there for the main story. There really needs to be a trait or an accessory that lets you auto pick up items on the ground. Having to tap E multiple times to pick up multiple items gets old really fast. I really think they should change the gear score or show a power level for your character so you can see how powerful your character really is. There really isn't anything that really signifies how powerful you are when you go into a world or you change the difficulty. You have a gear score, but that's based on the highest level of an armor or weapon that you've leveled up, and that's about it. And I really think they should do an overall gear score, like say you have your weapons and your armors at plus 10 each, then I think your gear score should be 60 or something like that, and then have people go for that and level their gear score up based on them upgrading their materials, and then maybe they can implement what trait level you are into your overall power level or something like that. But I think that would help people to see, like, oh, hey, I'm this is my power, this world needs this power level, okay, cool, I can do this, or this is going to be kind of difficult, but it's going to be rewarding kind of thing. Now, it is relatively simple to join other people's games or for people to join yours, but one of the problems is if you're going to join somebody else's game, they need to be at a checkpoint for you to get in. So they could be running through a boss or something like that, and you try and join in, you'll just spectate until they get to a checkpoint. And same thing, if you're running around and somebody wants to join in, they're just going to spectate you until you sit down at a checkpoint. I think they really should just let people join in right away when it's not a boss fight. That way you get in real quick, boom, you're just shooting things. If it's a boss fight, yes, I get it. Don't let them join in right away. If the person dies, then they can come out. They'll be at the checkpoint. The person will pop in. Now, here's one feature that I really didn't understand. They don't let you dismantle equipment. I really think they should let you dismantle equipment, because I was leveling up this specific weapon for majority of the game, and near the end I picked up a better weapon that I really liked, and I wanted to upgrade this one faster. But now I just have this old weapon in my inventory, and there's no real way to dismantle because I need more of the materials that I used on the old weapon for the new one, but it's just sitting there and I can't do anything with it. So it makes things a little too grindy. If they could allow people to dismantle equipment, dismantle armor that you're not going to use in the future, that would be fantastic. Now, here's another nitpick I found that could be easily changed. When you're playing with other people, you can't talk to like a vendor or the person who upgrades your materials. You can't talk to them at the same time. So if one person in your match is talking to them, you have to wait until they're done like upgrading their stuff before you can get in and talk to the guy and upgrade your stuff. They really need to let everybody just talk to everybody at once. Shouldn't matter. That way you can get in, get out as fast as possible to get back in the game world and start killing things. So even with all the nitpicks I had and the bugs I encountered and the ideas that I had to make the experience better, I still had a blast with this game. I'm still playing it. Super fun gameplay to run around with friends or random strangers. So if you're looking for a third-person shooter to spend some good hours to grind and just have fun, this is the game to get. Definitely flew under the radar. I highly recommend it, especially if it's on sale. Right now I've been seeing it at $39.99. I mean, I contemplated buying it when it was around $25 to $30, but again, I got it for free from the Epic Game Store. But if I had bought it at $30, I would have been satisfied because I spent a lot of hours with it. And again, I'm still playing it. I still like getting in, going into random people's matches and just getting the loot and the materials that I need and then upgrade my stuff. So this is my first video game review. If you have any feedback, things that you would have liked for me to discuss, or things that I should do differently, please let me know in the comment section. If you liked my review, please leave a like and a subscribe. My next review will be for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll be streaming it on Twitch, and the link to my Twitch account is in the description if you would like to watch. If you guys want me to keep making content, reviews, gameplay videos, gameplay highlights, please go to my Patreon so you can support me so that I can keep doing this. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.